Yo, welcome. It's your boy. Back in here for the meal, and we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who is still somehow an Arsenal supporter of Endeavour. What up, man?
Life choices, man. Life choices. You have to be careful, man. Like, I didn't know what I was doing when I was like 5 years old, and I made this decision for the rest of my life.
That's actually a good jump. But before we go into just how everything just went crazy, what was your into Arsenal? Because let me just stop. Because see, I said there are like two ways in which people go into a club. It's either from birth, where like your parents took you, or it's a player. See, for me, it was Zola.
Yeah.
Like Zola was my favorite player growing up. I was like, oh, I love this guy. Who does he play for? Plays for Chelsea. All right, I'm with them. So, what was your story for Arsenal?
To be honest, I say 5 years old. That's a lie. The first team I supported was Liverpool.
Oh,
actually, because
wow.
of John Barnes.
Oh, okay, yeah,
John
yeah.
Barnes was John Barnes. He was
Barnes.
Like massive, especially as you know my grandparents and whatnot, Jamaican. John Barnes being from
Yeah,
Jamaica.
yeah.
And then Arsenal had more black players, so I was like, well, there's more black players at Arsenal. I'll support them.
Yeah.
And then I've been stuck ever since.
So basically, I know that's actually keen because I think for a lot of guys, it was Arsenal is always the club like most black people gravitate towards because it was like, oh man, a lot of black guys going there. And for me, see, I was flirting of going to Arsenal because obviously when I was super young, when Kano Wankwo went to Arsenal, because this was after he won the Olympics.
Yeah.
So he was like the biggest thing in Nigeria. So basically, and that is why Arsenal have so many Nigerian supporters. Yeah. Because like during the 90s, I think Amunike was in Barcelona, Amokachi was at Everton, but for a short while, Okocha was in Frankfurt. Yeah. But when Kanwanko went to Arsenal, everybody in Nigeria, because he was literally like a god after winning the Olympics, so that's a key thing. If you were to like pinpoint a point, because this is what I even asked Barcelona fans with the issues happening with Barcelona, if you just say this was the point when things went wayward, if you just pick a particular point, where was the particular point in which everything just effed up?
There's 2 points. When we lost David Dean, we seemed to just kind of lose direction.
So who was David? What was
David
his role?
Dean was he chairman? Is that the correct term? But basically, David Dean was in control of footballing matters. He was key in bringing in Arsene Wenger. He was well respected within the game. Once he left Arsenal, he sat on the board of the Premier League for a while. Very integral part of our club and our success in that period. And the second point is leaving Highbury. Leaving Highbury when we left Highbury, it was a very bold move, very brave move we kind of looked into the future and said, right, we can build this state-of-the-art stadium, and due to building that stadium, the revenue that's going to be brought in, we'll be able to compete with the likes of, and then Abramovich turned up and everything turned upside down. So,
if you were the decision makers, would you have left Highbury?
We had to leave Highbury. Highbury was a very good stadium. I loved it. Arsenal fans loved it.
Iconic.
There was nothing wrong with the stadium as it was, but look at everyone now. You know, United were playing to 60,000 people a week. You know, we were competing with United, and United just had an endless cash flow through the stadium. So looking at that, if we could get ourselves a 60-plus seater stadium, we could then use the revenue made from ticket sales to compete. But as I said, this was before Abramovich came and before money really was pumped into football. That was, we'd never seen that kind of thing before. Yeah. So building the stadium when we did backfired because it was completely funded by ourselves. We didn't have any outside help. It wasn't like Abramovich came in and said, look, there's 350 million for the stadium.
So this was before Kroenke?
This was long before Kroenke. Kroenke came in, I think, 2012.
So basically what you're saying is you had to leave the stadium, but it was the wrong time to leave based off it was inadvisable to fund it yourself without outside investment.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, it was the wrong time because of what happened afterwards. But at the time, I think it was the correct decision because we were trying to move forward. We did all of this when financial fair play, it was before any of that even turned up. So we did this thinking, right, will suffer now trying to fund this, but it will fund itself after a certain time.
Yeah.
And then become a cash cow, basically. But once we started to build the stadium, we started to see, well, we can't spend money on players because the money's going into the stadium. But then at that same time,
Abramovich comes in and just changes
transfer
the
fees
entire
start
game.
going up here, and we're like, well, we can't compete with that because we have to pay for the stadium. Hence why we're selling our best players every summer. Hence why Wenger's working miracles with Denilson, Squillaci, Andre Santos, Stefanos, and all these other.
No. That's why this is actually great having this conversation, because this has just given me a whole new perspective. So if fans know that, look, you have, because my thing is that, because I remember whenever, and kids, you probably don't even remember, this was back in the 90s, whenever there was a Champions League, I was like, why can't Arsenal play at Highbury? That's because in the Champions League, you need a certain number of seats, and you need those special seats for the dignitary. So there's who had to go to play at Wembley. Remember when Batistuta scored that crazy goal? And Beckham scored that goal as well at the Wembley game.
I actually went to Highbury to watch it on the big screen because I couldn't get tickets to Wembley. And and Fiorentina ruined us.
But it's still what was great.
Batistuta ruined us.
Yeah, but that was great. Bro. So I think that, so when you realize that you had to leave based off of you, like, yes, it's a football club, but it's also a business as well, and you always have to increase it's like whenever you play, because I used to play all management games, and all management you always have to increase your stadium, and that's always exciting. It's like, I want 60,000 because that increases your revenue. So your aim is to increase the stadium as much as you can, because it just increases the profitability of the club. So my thing though is, so this now leads us to Wenger. Knowing this, the situation that you were in, did it make sense sacking Wenger?
Yes. I think we probably should have sacked him earlier than, well, I say sacked. He should have left the club earlier than he did. For me personally, I think he probably should have gone after the first FA Cup win. I think that was the right time. I think, obviously, he then went on to win more FA Cups. But I feel like everything was in place for him to just step aside. I don't know who we would have got in at the time, but at that time there was a lot more managers available. Pep was available, for example. And eventually when he did leave, what I find quite confusing is, for years it's been rumoured that he's going to leave. So you as a footballing establishment should have had something in place for when he did leave. And I don't feel like they had anything in place when he did leave. It was a bit of a panic thing of, all right, we need to get someone in, Emery. Come in, and do you know what I mean? It didn't seem like there was any sort of thought process behind it. But 100%, I think Wenger probably should have gone earlier. I think for his own legacy as well, because he was taking a lot of fire. Some of it justly, some of it unjustly. But I think people were very much just like, they want him gone without actually thinking what comes next. And here we are.
So now, looking at present day now, because I remember we had this conversation when like Arteta was hired, and you said that Arteta, you think that it's a good hire based off what he's done with Pep Guardiola and what he can bring. And I said that Arsenal, with the situation that they're in, I think you need an experienced hand, because you need someone who can just get results and can manage and has the experience of just managing. So I would say that, because my default go-to is always like a Benitez, who I think is very underrated, because the guy is like a manager. It's like, okay, these are the players, I can get results with these players. So in hindsight now, do you think that based on the situation that Arsenal were in, which is that you said with United, when a guy has been at the club for so long and his hands are in everywhere, it's very hard for the club to now move forward. So do you think that it was in hindsight, good or bad idea in getting Arteta?
I think it was a good idea in principle. I think the timing of it was wrong. I think he should have been the man to take over from Wenger.
Okay.
I don't think Emery should have been given the job. I think Arteta should have gone in, and that should have been his to carry from there. Completely fresh start, completely different ethos, and allow him to go in and do what he had to do. I think even if he would have gone in then, I don't think he would have been successful. I don't think anyone would have, because of what was happening above them. There's turmoil all over. There's people have left at board level, left, right and centre. There's no sort of cohesion. I think we're now starting to see a strategy put in place in terms of our transfers. There's been no strategy for the last 3 or 4 years. But yeah, I think anyone who would have come in would have struggled because of the club as a whole is rotten from the top to the bottom. It's not just a manager. It's not just playing staff. It's from the top all the way down.
So my thing is, okay, looking at solutions now, because you now have Stan Kroenke. See, this is what I said about Stan Kroenke is he's a businessman. Mm-hmm. And Arsenal is an amazing business, because my thing is that for Kroenke, he's like, this isn't like America. Because I know you know American sports is like NFL and NBA and MLB fans are not like for football fans. For Americans, the sport thing, yeah, they're passionate, but it's sort of a pastime. For guys in football, this is their life. Yeah. Their life revolves around, and it's like a drug. Mm-hmm. It is a drug unlike any other. So you obviously saw like Daniel Ek was trying to get Bergkamp and all these guys to try to buy it off Kroenke. Yeah. Do you see any scenario where Kroenke sells?
No. Kroenke is under no pressure to sell, and the club's still generating revenue. You know, it's still a global brand. There's no need for him to sell. Even Daniel Ek would have to put in a ridiculously large amount of money for Kroenke to even look at the offer. Mm. But I think we're just going to have to live with Kroenke and hope that we can put the right people in place who are making football decisions. Because it's not all about spending money. Yeah. We've spent money this summer. We've spent more than anyone else across Europe.
But basically, scouting, coaching, structure.
It's about putting a ethos in place and a footballing principality in place. Something that can go down from board level management, players, and then to fans, so that everyone understands what's happening. And this is why, when I look at the transfer dealings we've made this summer, we haven't brought in any superstars. We brought in young players who have something to prove, who can hopefully be there for the next 3 or 4 years and create a squad, and then they have sell-on value if we need to sell. I think this is the kind of strategy we should have put in place ages ago. Signing the likes of Willian, David Luiz, all these old people on big contracts makes no sense. Do you know what I mean? But we've been doing this for a while.
Which is why it was amazing what Willian did, where he was like, all right, I'm not going to, you don't need to pay me and everything, just boom. So that was so. What do Arsenal do? Because my thing is, you have to be real that Arsenal will probably finish mid-table again. Like, there are so many good teams in the Premier League now, and I think the problem with the Premier League is how the money flows from top to bottom. So guys have money that other guys in Spain, Italy don't have. So you cannot. So Tottenham, Wolves, Leicester, all these guys can go on and actually spend money the way that other guys can. So. And it's so the competition will always be competitive every single year. So how do Arsenal even begin to now start getting back to that top 4 title situation?
I think if you look at our first team on paper, it's good enough to compete with the likes of Tottenham. Yeah. It's good enough to compete with the likes of Leicester. It's just getting consistency and basically just getting a coaching system where we can get the best out of the players we have. Once we do that, you show that you're improving as a team. You get more young players across Europe who want to join Arsenal. Yeah. You bring them in, and then you continue to build as a club with these youngsters who can go forward knowing that they'll be given a chance to show what they can do. They can grow at Arsenal. And you stay away from signings of players who have nothing left to prove in their career, have done it, and just want to pick up a wage. Stay away from those signings.
But my thing though is Arteta the right guy? Because you always need a manager, but you also need a coach. Is Arteta the right guy to be like, all right, I'm now... Because the problem with Arteta is, okay, all because you work with someone, it doesn't mean you now understand what it means to be in that hot seat. Because he works with Guardiola, I'm sure he learns a lot of stuff. But all because you're in proximity to something great or something really, really good. I can look Pep and great. Uncle Mo is also better than Pep, relax. But all because you work with someone who is quality, doesn't mean that you are quality yourself. So my thing is Arteta the right guy to be like, all right, young guys, so forth, like what Ten Hag is doing with Ajax now?
I think the problem with Arteta is he's stubborn, and he's this disciplinarian who seems to put his own ego before the needs of the club. I think that's what's going to get him in trouble mostly. I think if Arteta was to be sacked, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. My only thing is, if he is sacked, I don't trust the club to make the right decision to bring in the right person. That's not saying Arteta should keep his job because it's just, I don't think that's going to fix anything if he goes.
Who do you bring in? If they sack him, who do you bring in?
Who's available at the moment?
That's the issue.
That's another question. Frank Lampard, no. No, I don't know, man.
Maybe if you want to play long ball, crossing inshallah, and flirt with relegation, feel free.
No, a lot of people are saying
tyrants, man.
Graham Potter from Brighton. He looks like a good young manager, but again, does he come in and he's not? I mean, he's doing really well at Brighton.
What about that dude, Bournemouth?
Eddie Howe.
Yeah,
I think the chance is gone for him now.
Oh,
I think that was, he was doing wonders at Bournemouth. Limited thing. Once they gave him money, it all went to shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that, but I don't know, man. I don't know who's out there. I'll have to think about it a bit longer. But there's tons of really good managers across like France and Germany and places like that who probably could do a decent job. I wouldn't mind getting Gautier, who won the league.
He's a Lille guy. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Because he's shown in a quick amount of time that he can sort out defence.
Yeah.
And play good football at the same time.
And also get results.
And get results. I mean, money has been spent at Nice especially, but he won the league at Lille with huge financial restraints. So I think he would be a good man to come in. I just don't know if he would translate well to the English game.
So just to round this off right now, so where do Arsenal finish? This is where they are right now. Like, where do
we finish in the top eight. Top eight. I'm not sure if we're getting to Europe, but we'll finish within the top eight. No, you know what? We'll finish above Tottenham. So wherever Tottenham finish, we'll finish above them.
You believe you'll finish before Tottenham?
Yeah.
So, okay, are you saying, is that an emotional pick or is that a footballing logical pick?
Emotional pick, and I think they also made a very bad appointment in Nuno. I don't think that's
so do you think Nuno was a...
No, God no. I think, the fans didn't like Mourinho's style of football. Nuno's not exactly a free-flowing manager. His system's pretty defensive as well. And I just don't think it's Tottenham. No matter how many good players they've got, which they have got some really good players, but there's always something missing in the Tottenham side. And also Kane's mentality as well could be. Yeah, and I think Kane's not all there. He wants to leave, but Levy's like Daniel Levy, innit? So we'll see what happens to them. But I think we'll finish above them this season. I think we're going to find our stride sooner or later. What do you think the ceiling is on Smith-Rowe and Saka? Like their potential? And do you think they meet their ceiling here? Because for me, Smith-Rowe, I think, I've always liked Saka. I think Saka is a guy that is very talented. But like, what do you think like their ceiling is? The thing is, for me, I like Smith-Rowe because he has a high football IQ. And this is something we've been missing for a long time. We've had too many players who just, they look good on the ball but don't know when to pass the ball, don't know which runs to make, don't know when to hold the ball, all that kind of stuff. Smith-Rowe gets it. His movement's always top notch. We don't always find him. Saka I think is a star in the making, and I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves Arsenal within 2 or 3 years. Which is fine as long as we get cash, get the biggest cash, and we replace him adequately. But yeah, I think they've got pretty high ceilings. I think Saka's ceiling is higher than Smith-Rowe's. But I think both. I think Smith-Rowe, if he stays at Arsenal, he could go on to be an Arsenal legend. I think he could be if he's played in the correct system. If we have players around him who are on his wavelength. Because there's been many times when you see Smith-Rowe find up little pockets of space and he don't receive the ball. Yeah. He has the ball and no one's making the run for him to find. And this has been an issue with us for the last 3 years. We have players who aren't intelligent. Pepe is a number one example for that. Bro, that dude. He's very good footballer if you like skills and flicks and tricks. But for decision making, in terms of his football IQ, it's terrible. Yeah. Because he's one of those guys that if you're playing football, like you'd be basically screaming and saying, "Bro, just pass the freaking ball, man." Yeah, like he doesn't know what he's gonna do. So how do you know? Yeah. You know what I mean? Okay, so give me a position: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Seven. And is that Conference League or not Conference League? I think that's Conference League.
Yeah. So wait, what's is that war? Wait, I don't even know what
I don't know what it is,
like,
but I know
know.
they play at the same nights as Europa League.
Yeah.
And the highlights are on the same show as the Europa League show, so it's basically the Europa
Is this
League.